Have you ever looked at your 401k and wondered if it resembles bringing bottled water to a party filled with vintage Napa wines? Many Americans quietly fear their retirement savings are embarrassingly small compared to everyone else, despite working hard for years without dramatic financial mistakes. And if you have ever scrolled through social media seeing someone brag about giant balances, it can feel like you are hopelessly behind. Today, I want to give you the clearest picture of where your retirement savings truly stand compared to millions of Americans nationwide. Some numbers may calm your anxiety immediately, while others may encourage you to adjust your contributions before another year quietly slips away forever. My name is Max, and I spend an unreasonable amount of time analyzing updated retirement data so you never have to worry alone. Before we dive into the newest statistics, let me ask a simple question that reveals how confused most people feel about retirement. When you picture the typical American saver, do you imagine someone responsibly preparing, or someone hoping the lottery solves everything eventually? The truth is that most people have absolutely no idea what normal looks like because retirement is rarely discussed openly or honestly anywhere. Understanding the real numbers is powerful because it helps you make decisions based on facts instead of fear assumptions or painful guesswork. Imagine trying to get healthier without knowing the average weight or exercise habits of people similar to you in age and lifestyle. Retirement planning works the exact same way because understanding where you stand gives you clarity, control, and confidence about your financial future. So let's begin with the newest 2025 landscape, which includes updated data from Fidelity Vanguard, the Federal Reserve, and major plan providers. According to Fidelity's late 2024 report, the average 401k balance reached approximately $118,600 nationwide. But do not celebrate or panic yet because that number includes 20-year-olds barely investing and 60-year-olds contributing for decades. That's why averages in retirement data can be incredibly misleading and can distort your understanding of what typical workers actually have saved. The median balance paints a more accurate picture and currently sits between $33,000 and $38,000, depending on the data source. This huge gap between average and median means a small group with massive accounts pulls the totals upward, distorting the national view. Think of it like calculating the average wealth of 10 neighbors when one of them is secretly a multimillionaire tech founder unexpectedly. The average skyrockets, but the median tells you what the real middle person actually owns, which matters far more for planning. Now let's explore something people find both inspiring and slightly intimidating: the rapid rise of American 401k millionaires in recent years. Fidelity reported approximately 422,000 401k millionaires at the end of 2024, an impressive and record-breaking milestone. And when including IRA millionaires, the combined total now approaches 700,000 Americans holding seven-figure retirement accounts overall. What surprises many people is that these millionaires are not all ultra-wealthy executives, but mostly disciplined long-term savers contributing consistently. The average 401k millionaire is roughly 59 years old and has been investing steadily for around 25 to 28 years. That means most of them began serious saving in their 30s, proving it's absolutely possible to catch up even if you started late. Millennials now make up nearly 3.5% of all retirement millionaires, showing younger generations are quietly building meaningful wealth. But none of this growth would have happened without strong market performance, especially throughout late 2023 and the entirety of 2024. The S&P 500 gained nearly 24% in 2024, while the Nasdaq exploded upward by more than 40% total. These market gains dramatically boosted account balances, proving once again that staying invested beats panic selling every single time historically. But here's a deeper insight. Successful savers grow their accounts not by timing markets, but by contributing consistently during every type of year. Fidelity data shows the average total savings rate for Americans, including employer match, now sits around 14% nationally. Meanwhile, top-performing savers contribute between 25 and 30%, combining personal and employer contributions year after year. These people do not earn astronomically higher incomes, they simply automate savings and refuse to negotiate with their long-term goals. Behavioral data shows around 87% of savers made zero changes to their investment allocation during volatility in 2024. History proves again that people who constantly adjust portfolios tend to underperform long-term investors by several percentage points annually. It's similar to switching freeway lanes, constantly thinking you'll go faster, but actually slowing down more every single time. Contribution behavior varies dramatically by age, and understanding this helps you determine whether you're ahead or behind your peers. Workers in their 20s contribute around 7% on average because they're usually just starting careers or facing student loans. Workers in their 30s increase contributions near 9% as incomes rise and financial responsibilities grow more quickly. By their 40s, workers typically save around 11% as retirement becomes more real, and family expenses peak simultaneously. Workers in their 50s save around 15%, especially when catch-up contributions become available and start making a meaningful difference. Understanding these patterns helps you gauge your own progress without comparing yourself unfairly to people in different life stages. But the best way to understand your position is by looking at typical balances for people in each age group nationally. Americans under 25 have median balances between $5,000 and $8,000, which is entirely normal and expected. If you're young, your greatest asset is not your balance, but the 40 years of compound growth waiting ahead of you. Even small contributions at that age can grow into life-changing amounts, especially when invested consistently in diversified retirement funds. Workers aged 25 to 34 hold median balances around $22,000 and average balances near $43,000. Many fall short of the recommended one-time salary benchmark simply because life in your late 20s becomes financially intense. Rent student loans, weddings, housing payments, and rising costs can overwhelm savings efforts, making retirement feel distant or temporarily unimportant. Your 30s often feel financially chaotic because major milestones collide simultaneously, creating pressure that makes retirement saving feel painfully secondary sometimes. But even modest consistency during this decade builds a foundation that compound growth later multiplies far more powerfully than people initially expect. Workers aged 35 to 44 typically hold median balances near $60,000 and average balances closer to $135,000. Financial experts suggest having 2 to 3 times your annual salary saved by age 40, though many households understandably fall short. This shortfall rarely reflects irresponsibility instead. It highlights the expensive realities of raising children, managing mortgages, and maintaining everyday life. Retirement saving often becomes a background priority until income stabilizes or major financial burdens begin to ease during the next decade. Americans aged 45 to 54 have median balances near $110,000 and average balances around $210,000. This group sits in a critical inflection point where years of contributions have grown, but retirement still feels surprisingly far away emotionally. Many people finally feel confident enough during this stage to increase contributions aggressively, especially once children become more financially independent. Catch-up contributions begin playing a significant role, allowing older workers to accelerate savings during their highest earning years intentionally. Workers aged 55 to 64 typically hold median balances near $195,000 and average balances around $277,000. These numbers sound encouraging initially but become less comforting when translated into monthly income during actual retirement years realistically. Dividing $195,000 across 25 years equals roughly $650 per month, a startlingly small amount. Even when adding Social Security, the combined income often remains far below the lifestyle many households are accustomed to maintaining currently. This gap illustrates why increasing contributions during your 50s can dramatically reshape your long-term financial stability and retirement comfort. Retirement is not simply about accumulating a large number. It is about creating income that reliably supports decades of your future life. Now let's look at how gender differences influence retirement outcomes, because the gap between men and women remains frustratingly persistent nationwide. Research shows women generally have 30 to 33% lower retirement balances than men by the time retirement approaches. This disparity results from wage gaps, career interruptions, caregiving responsibilities, and longer lifespans, requiring savings to stretch significantly further. A smaller balance growing at the same rate mathematically leads to a smaller ending balance, compounding the disadvantage across decades. Geography also shapes retirement outcomes because living costs drastically change how much disposable income households can realistically invest annually. Workers in states like California, Massachusetts, or New York hold higher balances but face significantly higher expenses that reduce saving capacity. Meanwhile, workers in lower-cost regions often hold smaller balances but enjoy far greater purchasing power during retirement years. Two households with the same 401k balance can live entirely different retirements depending on local housing, healthcare, and transportation costs. Industry plays another major role because employer benefits vary widely between sectors, offering dramatically different levels of retirement support. Technology and financial services employees often enjoy generous matches, while educators and healthcare staff frequently fall behind despite essential work. This imbalance highlights how employer generosity sometimes matters just as much as personal behavior when building long-term wealth. Student loan debt continues to be one of the biggest obstacles preventing younger workers from saving consistently for retirement. The average borrower carries around $30,000 in student loans, which directly competes with retirement contributions every single month. This tug of war often forces young adults to prioritize immediate survival over long-term financial planning, despite wanting to save more. New federal regulations for 2025 have increased the maximum employee contribution limit to $23,500 annually. Workers age 50 or older can contribute an additional $7,500 through the traditional catch-up provision available every year. Even more impactful, workers aged 60 to 63 now qualify for a super catch-up, allowing $11,250 additional dollars. These expanded limits provide older workers powerful opportunities to close retirement gaps quickly during their final high-earning stretch. However, most Americans are not maxing out existing limits, so increasing future thresholds only benefits those already contributing aggressively today. The real challenge is not the rules, it is human behavior, which determines success far more than income or contribution limits. Automatic enrollment has dramatically improved participation, with more than 90% of workers remaining in plans after being automatically enrolled. Yet many participants stay stuck at initial contribution rates around 3% because they never update or increase their settings later. Automatic escalation helps solve this by raising contributions 1% per year, allowing savings to grow without noticeable impact on take-home pay. Behavioral economists call this the power of default, because people naturally stick with whatever requires the least effort or change. Investment choices inside 401k plans reveal equally fascinating behavior patterns that strongly influence long-term financial outcomes for participants. Most savers choose target date funds or balanced portfolios because they offer simplicity, diversification, and automatic age-appropriate adjustments. These choices often outperform do-it-yourself portfolios created by people attempting to beat the market through frequent changes. Market timing consistently underperforms because missing just a few strong recovery days can permanently damage long-term investment returns. During the volatility of 2024, those who stayed invested saw strong rebounds, while those who panicked missed enormous growth opportunities. This proves once again that steady contributions and consistent investment behavior matter more than predicting temporary market movements. Geographic and industry differences continue influencing how much savers accumulate and how effectively those balances translate into retirement readiness. Workers in high-cost regions may appear wealthier on paper, yet often struggle more because living costs devour disposable income quickly. Meanwhile, savers in more affordable regions can stretch smaller balances dramatically further, creating stronger retirement outcomes with fewer dollars. Understanding these external factors helps you avoid comparing yourself unfairly to people with entirely different circumstances, influencing their savings outcomes. Now, let's talk about something people overlook often: the emotional side of retirement planning, which influences decisions more than spreadsheets ever can. Many Americans assume retirement requires perfection, but the truth is long-term consistency beats short bursts of motivation every single time. You do not need perfect timing, perfect income, or perfect investments. You only need steady contributions and a commitment to future stability. People who save successfully focus less on comparing themselves and more on improving just 1 or 2% each year continuously. This slow upward progress becomes incredibly powerful because small increases compound into massive long-term growth without dramatic lifestyle changes. Now think about how often people sabotage their savings by cashing out accounts while switching jobs, creating unnecessary setbacks. Cashing out a 401k early usually triggers taxes, penalties, and lost compound growth, which can reduce lifetime wealth significantly. Even small withdrawals can erase years of progress, especially when missing market rebounds or employer matching contributions entirely. The best savers understand that every dollar kept invested becomes multiple dollars later, and this mindset separates winners from strugglers. Retirement planning is not just math, it is also behavior psychology and a willingness to let time do heavy lifting consistently. Let's return to the age progression because it reveals important truths about how savings evolve across different life seasons naturally. Younger workers often underestimate the power of early contributions because small balances feel insignificant compared to older peers. Yet a single dollar invested at age 20 can grow dramatically more than the same dollar invested at age 30. This exponential growth happens because compound interest rewards time more than income skill or even investment strategy itself. Workers in their middle years often catch up faster than expected once income stabilizes, and debt obligations begin decreasing gradually. Their contributions grow larger, and the compounding effect accelerates significantly, especially during strong market performance cycles. Older workers rely heavily on catch-up provisions, which allow them to correct earlier shortfalls and compress decades of saving quickly. These contributions can transform retirement readiness, especially when combined with disciplined spending and continued market participation. But contribution limits only matter if you use them, which many Americans unfortunately fail to do despite strong financial incentives. That's why understanding your position early matters, because waiting too long forces more aggressive saving during later years. Another overlooked factor is the emotional impact of comparing your savings to friends, coworkers, or random people online constantly. These comparisons often distort reality because everyone faces different incomes, expenses, responsibilities, and employer benefits. Someone appearing ahead may receive generous matching contributions, while another could live in a cheaper region that boosts purchasing power. Successful savers avoid emotional comparisons and instead evaluate progress relative to their own past performance historically. They ask whether they are saving slightly more today than yesterday, rather than whether they match someone else's exact number. This shift in perspective reduces stress and builds lasting confidence, which becomes essential for long-term financial discipline. Now, let's discuss an uncomfortable truth: retirement costs are rising significantly faster than most household incomes nationwide. Healthcare, housing, and everyday living expenses continue climbing, which means retirement savings must stretch further than previous generations experienced. Pension plans have nearly disappeared, forcing individuals to shoulder more responsibility for income during retirement years. These structural changes make disciplined retirement saving essential because relying solely on Social Security rarely covers full expenses. Social Security payments average around $1,800 monthly, an amount insufficient for comfortable living in many regions. That's why financial planners recommend aiming for retirement income that replaces 70 to 80% of your working salary. Achieving this target becomes far easier when you begin saving early and increase contributions consistently throughout your career. Even small monthly increases create massive long-term differences, especially when combined with matching contributions from employers. Employers offering strong matches essentially provide guaranteed returns that significantly accelerate your retirement savings growth. Surprisingly, millions of workers still fail to contribute enough to receive their full employer match, effectively losing free money. It's similar to your boss offering a raise and you politely declining because you prefer a smaller paycheck voluntarily. Capturing your full match should always be your minimum savings goal, no matter your age, income, or financial situation. From there, gradual annual increases become easier to implement and rarely impact your lifestyle as dramatically as expected. The key is building sustainable habits instead of relying on occasional bursts of motivation that fade quickly. Let's revisit market behavior because long-term returns depend heavily on staying invested rather than reacting emotionally to volatility. Historically, the stock market has risen despite recessions, crashes, geopolitical events, and temporary downturns that frightened investors. Missing just the 10 best market days in a decade can reduce your total returns dramatically compared to staying fully invested. Those best days almost always occur shortly after the worst days, making timing nearly impossible for any average investor. This pattern explains why investors who constantly move to cash often miss rebounds that could have doubled their recovery speed. Meanwhile, disciplined investors who continue contributing during downturns often gain the most when markets eventually recover strongly. Market volatility is not a threat, it is an opportunity, especially for workers far from retirement with long time horizons. When prices fall, contributions purchase more shares, which increases long-term growth potential once markets return to normal levels. Understanding this helps reduce emotional stress and encourages more confident behavior during turbulent financial periods. Successful savers trust the long-term trajectory of markets and allow time, not fear, to determine their investment outcomes. Now let's talk about how contribution habits transform over time, because Disciplined saving consistently outperforms dramatic one-time financial decisions. Many people assume retirement success requires huge contributions, but small, consistent increases often create the most powerful long-term outcomes financially. Increasing contributions by just 1% annually can double your retirement savings without significantly impacting your monthly lifestyle or budget. This strategy works because it aligns with income growth, gradually making higher savings rates feel natural rather than overwhelming or stressful. Over time, these incremental changes create powerful compounding effects that dramatically reshape your long-term financial trajectory. That's why financial advisors emphasize habits, not perfection, because behavior determines retirement success more than income or investment expertise. Even households with modest incomes can build strong retirement balances if they automate contributions and avoid unnecessary withdrawals early. Meanwhile, high-income earners often fall behind if they rely too heavily on future earnings instead of building discipline today. Your retirement readiness depends far more on consistency than salary, which is empowering news for millions of ordinary Americans. By focusing on controllable actions, you avoid stressing over unpredictable markets or unchangeable economic conditions around you. Another mindset shift involves viewing retirement not as a distant event but as a multi-decade period, requiring stable, sustainable income. People often underestimate how long they will live, especially with rising life expectancies and improved healthcare outcomes nationwide. Living 25 to 30 years after retirement is becoming common, which requires more savings than previous generations ever needed. This longevity can be a blessing, but only if supported by a robust financial foundation prepared well in advance. Today's workers must plan for longer retirements, fewer pensions, and rising expenses, making personal savings more critical than ever. This reality reinforces the importance of consistent contributions, especially during peak earning years when saving potential is highest. Now let's revisit how small decisions shape your financial life, because seemingly minor habits can strengthen or weaken your retirement outlook. For example, many workers neglect employer matches despite being one of the simplest and most valuable financial benefits available. Even missing a few years of matching contributions can reduce your lifetime wealth by tens of thousands of dollars easily. Capturing every available matching dollar should be considered the non-negotiable foundation of your entire retirement strategy. Another common mistake involves emotional reactions to financial stress, which lead to pausing contributions during difficult moments unnecessarily. Pausing contributions seems harmless initially, but often delays progress significantly, especially when missed contributions cannot be recaptured later. Maintaining even small contributions during tough times preserves your momentum and keeps your long-term trajectory intact. The most successful savers understand that consistency during difficult years often matters more than contributions during easy years. This long-term mindset helps reduce financial anxiety and builds confidence that grows alongside your retirement savings. Now, consider the importance of avoiding lifestyle inflation, because rising spending can erase savings progress even when income increases. Many workers increase spending with every raise, leaving little extra money available for retirement contributions despite earning more. Successful savers treat raises as opportunities to increase contributions automatically before new spending habits develop. This disciplined approach transforms income growth into future financial freedom rather than short-lived lifestyle upgrades. Over decades, these decisions create massive differences between households that appear similar on the surface. Let's connect everything together, because understanding the entire landscape empowers you to build a personalized retirement strategy confidently. Retirement success is not about matching the national average or chasing millionaire status. It is about meeting your own goals. You are not in competition with strangers online. You are building security for your future self and your loved ones. Your retirement plan should reflect your values, responsibilities, timeline, and dreams for life beyond your working years. The national data simply provides context, helping you understand where you stand and where adjustments might be necessary. These numbers reveal that retirement savings vary significantly by age, income, region, industry, and personal behavior patterns. Most importantly, they show that small, consistent actions matter more than perfect strategies or perfect timing. Whether your balance is small, growing, or already strong, your next contribution will always be more important than your last. Your financial future is shaped not by luck but by discipline, the quiet daily decisions that build long-term stability. And the best part is that you can begin improving today, because progress starts with even the smallest intentional step. If you take nothing else from this video, remember that time, consistency, and patience are your strongest retirement allies. Your future self will thank you for every contribution made today, even if it feels insignificant or inconvenient right now. Retirement planning is not about being perfect. It is about staying committed through every season of your financial journey. You already have the tools you need to build a stronger future. You only need the willingness to act consistently. And I promise those habits will pay off more than nearly any other decision you make throughout your working life. So take a moment to evaluate your contribution rate and consider increasing it slightly before the next payday arrives. These small adjustments will compound into meaningful long-term results, shaping a retirement that feels secure, comfortable, and confident. If this video helped clarify where you stand financially, consider sharing it with someone who may need the same clarity. And if you want more practical data-driven guidance, make sure to subscribe and join our community of informed savers. Now, tell me in the comments which age group you fall into and what surprised you most about the national retirement numbers.